Welcome to this week's live Q&A and open office hour session. We're talking about three topics that are absolutely essential for strong leadership, especially if you're looking to gain a competitive advantage and maximize potential performance and profitability. So I am so happy to answer your questions. Now, this is the thing. If you've not shared with me your questions, you still have the opportunity to do so. All you need to do is send me a message. You can email me at spayne@smpistrategies.com, or you can simply leave your questions. I'm going to say actually two ways. You can leave them within the comment section. The other thing that you can do is you can actually leave your comments under a post. And so I've seen people actually leave their comments under posts. And guess what? My team, we capture those and we still answer your questions and let you know that you don't have to be live to do so. Well, let's get to it. One of our questions today is all about leadership. Now, I am absolutely in love with leadership. I truly believe this is a thing that I can talk about all day long. And our question is, how can I enhance my leadership skills and become a more effective leader? Well, I am absolutely ecstatic that you're even interested in becoming a more effective leader. So many people really need to ask themselves that question. So let me ask you this. When you think about the leaders that you've had in the past or the leaders that you have currently, what's special about them? What do you like about them? And I want you to really go all the way back. I want you to think about in your personal life. So maybe you have volunteered somewhere. I want you to think about if you have actually, maybe you've gone to a church or you've been part of an organization, a sorority, a fraternity. I want you to think about whether or not you had a leader that you actually admired in school. What made them effective to you? Why did they capture your attention? This is an essential question that you ask yourself for a number of reasons. One reason is because you just want to see what actually spoke to your heart. See, I truly believe that leadership, strong, effective, and I like to say impactful, strong, effective, and impactful leaders, they speak to your heart. They make you want to do something that maybe you weren't really sold on. And it's not because they're charismatic. It's not because they are extremely gifted in persuasion. I truly believe that strong, effective leaders have a way of rallying the troops and getting you excited about what it is that you're going to accomplish. Now, to help answer this question for you, I'm going to tell you a tale of two stories, a tale of two leaders, rather. One of my favorite leaders was Coach Danny Joe Young at East High School. Actually, for me, that was junior high school, East High School in Memphis, Tennessee. I loved Coach Young. And I love Coach Young for a number of reasons. And, of course, he was my track and my cross country coach. So that was a reason enough to love him. But I love that he had a strong competitive spirit. Coach Young wanted to win. And that was enough to get us motivated and excited about what it was that he was doing and what we could actually do with him and how we could contribute to his legacy. And it's something that has stuck with me all of my life. When my friends and I talk about Coach Young, and even my parents actually, and their friends, one of the things that's really interesting is that before he went to East, which is where I went, he was actually the coach at Northside High School in Memphis, Tennessee. And he was actually my mom's best friend's coach. Is that not crazy? Now, my mother did not have me really young, so it's kind of wild to me. So Coach Young has been winning and impacting lives for a long time. A few years back, he actually transitioned, and I remember so many people were telling their Coach Young stories. What was so special about him? At the time, the school that I went to was a school in the heart of the city. And I was actually transferred into that school. And Coach Young was the coach there, of course, but it was in a community called Binghamton, which was not a great part of Memphis, but it had great history. And with Binghamton, it was, it was kind of really, it's kind of hard to say. So it's kind of in one of the most challenging parts of the city, but also right around one of the wealthiest parts of the city. So it was extremely diverse. But he was a Caucasian man teaching and coaching all of these African American students and getting them excited about their future. See, he didn't just talk to us about track and cross country. He also talked to us about our future and what it was going to take to be the best, why he had already been the best, and how he was going to continue to stay the best. Loved it. Loved it. And I bought into it. And a lot of those principles that I learned from Coach Young, I still can recite to this day. I still practice to this day. You see, he impacted my heart. He impacted my spirit. He got us excited about the vision. He got us excited about possibility. He got us excited about what we could do. He believed in us before we believed in ourselves. And because of that, we were winners. We were winners. Actually, he had more wins than any other coach in the state. That is phenomenal. So he got us to believe in ourselves. He got us to play team, right? For us to be able to win, each person had to do their part, especially in cross country, and we had to play team. He had high standards, and we met and we exceeded those standards. And so I want you to think about that when you think about what makes you a more effective leader. Are you doing that? Now I can share with you about another leader that I've had. This leader was phenomenal. This was in corporate America. He was amazing. He put together a strong team of high performers. He had high expectations. He was down to earth. He had wonderful, fascinating, engaging, informative team meetings. His meetings were off the chain. And so it was one of the very few meetings, if you've worked in corporate America for any length of time, you know that the team meetings can be, why? Because we spend our time round robin, going around the room. What are you working on? What are you working on? What are you working on? What are you up to? What are you doing? And it just becomes, just you talking about exactly what they asked. What are you doing after you spent 20 minutes talking about the weekend? Last weekend and what you're going to do this weekend. And so how much time are you wasting while we mask it with building relationships, right? And you should absolutely have strong relationships. But I want you to think about, as a leader, what are you giving to your team? See, this particular leader, I won't call his name, but he stayed out of our way. He gave us opportunity. He believed in us. He empowered us. I will never forget one business partner that I was working with. She did or said something totally crazy that was not what we contracted. I don't know what it was. It was not what we contracted. And they contracted with her to work on this particular project before I started working on at the organization and on the team. And so what happened was, I come in and I am looking at this contract. I've gone over it with her and the other business partners. And it was really interesting to see that while we were executing and while they had executed, I came in and I executed and we agreed on this and we made sure that we're all on the same page. When it hit the fan, she chose to lie. And because she chose to lie, she went to this particular leader and said, hey, they've not done X, Y, Z. We need to have a meeting. And I'll never forget, he came to me. And I said, well, perhaps she doesn't have a clear understanding of how we're tracking progress. But this is what was committed to. This is what has been done. And this is what will be done in the future. And so I'm a little disappointed that she has not had the courageous conversation. And I'm a little disappointed that she's not necessarily being 100% truthful as to what has occurred. And so he said, well, I'm not going to fight this battle for you. I want you to go and you have a conversation with her. And I did. But it felt good to have a leader who supported me, and not a leader who just said, well, you didn't do this and come in accusatory, because it's another leader or someone who may be deeply rooted in the organization, highly political. He didn't lean towards that. He didn't even say, you know what, well, I'm going to go back to her and I'm going to tell her X, Y, Z. No, he empowered me to go and have that conversation with her, to set things straight, to go over what we contracted with, to ensure that we had a plan moving forward that worked for her as well as us. And again, having her to understand that I am your business partner. How many times as leaders do you get in the way? You go and fight the battles for your team unnecessarily. Sometimes, yes, you need to step in, but there are other times where you need to say, you know what, you go handle this, you go do this, you empower them, you give them a voice. So when I tell you those two stories, does that answer your question of how do you become a more effective leader? Now, of course, I haven't observed you, so I can't share with you what I see or what I don't see, what I hear, what I don't hear, what I'm feeling, or what your team is thinking. But I really want you to begin with really just being self-aware. And self-awareness, having a high level of self-awareness. It's understanding your strengths. It's also understanding your weaknesses or your areas of opportunity. It's understanding your values, what's important to you, what are your priorities, how do you show up, how do you serve, how do you give, how do you support, how do you help, how do you get in the way, how do you complicate things, how do you make things uncomfortable? Because sometimes leaders forget that when you show up in the room as a leader, sometimes people become uncomfortable with you. It creates a little tension there. And so it's not all the time, but it's sometimes. And it's also being aware that no matter how great you may be, no matter how much your team may absolutely love and adore you, for some people, you will always be the leader and they will not see you as anything differently. So you will never be part of the team. You will always be the leader of the team and they put you up high, which makes it a challenge when they need to say something to you or share with you insight or give you feedback. And you're wondering, how do I become better if they're not giving me the feedback? You have to understand that for some people, it's all business. It's all business and it never becomes personal. It never becomes where we are connected. It never becomes an intimate relationship. It never becomes a give and take relationship. In any relationship, even with employee, employer, when it is give and take, it is powerful. But when it is not a give and take relationship, oh my gosh, somebody is going to be left feeling empty. And when you feel empty, what happens? Your mind begins to wander and you lose that magic. You lose that connectedness, right? That feeling of this is my team and I'm part of this. And so I want you to think about that. The second thing I would say to you is as you're on your journey to becoming a more effective leader, one of the things I would say is slow down. What do I mean by slow down? I want you to encourage collaboration. You don't have to do it all by yourself, but you don't have to also delegate everything either. You can work alongside your team. You can challenge them. You can take their ideas. You can value their input. You can seek their advice. You can lean to their guidance. You can ask them tough questions. You can ask them to do something. All of those things, and you partnering and working with them and understand that they work with you, not necessarily for you. And I know some leaders will say, no, they work for me. This person's on my team, they work for me. Do they really? Because even if it's your organization, they have a choice of whether they want to be there or whether they want to be somewhere else. And they can be here present right in front of you and mentally be somewhere else. So my question for you is, do you foster an environment of collaboration where you're right there with them, you're collaborating with them, we're doing this together? That's what slowing down is all about. See, if you want to go fast, you go by yourself. I'm sure you've heard this. But if you want to go further, you go with a team, you go with somebody else. So I'm going to encourage you to go with somebody else. Now, caveat, let me say this. I just want to say this and I want to slow it down just a little bit. And I'm laughing because it's something that I've seen time and time again in my years of leadership development and leadership training and executive leadership coaching. It's amazing to me how many times leaders believe that leadership is all about the title. All about the title. It is not about your title. If you want to become a strong, effective, and impactful leader, let go of the title. We all know who you are. We all know that you're in charge. We all know that you're responsible, you're accountable, whatever. We know that the buck stops with you. But when you forget to become a person, when you forget to see people, when you forget that once you were in their shoes, you lose them. You lose them. You've got to connect with their hearts, their souls, their spirits. You got to connect with their minds. You got to remember that while you're not doing the work necessarily all the time, you're responsible for getting the work done. So how do you get the work done? Caring about people. When you care about them and you can show them that you care about them, and that's not holding them accountable. It's ensuring, though, that they see that they matter. They matter. And it makes all the difference. It really does. So I want you to collaborate with them. I want you to work alongside them. I want you to get in the trenches with them. I want you to learn what it is that they do. What are the obstacles that stand in their way? And I want you to empower them. Next thing I want you to do is I want you to remember. Always remember. Always remember. Always remember that leadership is about results. It's about results. You're there to get results. Don't lose that. You can't just be their friend and forget why you're here. You've got to get results done. And part of getting results done, when we're talking about enhancing your skills as a leader, I wish I would have brought my definition of leadership. I'm going to share that with you. Part of getting things done as a leader is just remembering who you need on the team to get you where you want to go and to ensure that where you need to go right now, you have the tools, the people, the skill set that can get you there. Who can get you there? Who can keep you there? Who can get you there? And it may not be the same people. It may not be. See, I'm one of those unique people. I'm a builder at core. Can I maintain? Absolutely. I can maintain. But at core, I'm a builder. At core, I'm going to connect your big picture and your small picture at the same time. That's who I am at core. But you got to recognize that some people don't have that skill set, and that's okay. That is okay. As a leader, you got to figure out, who do you actually need? Why do you need them? And how do you make sure that you give them what they need to give you their very best day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. That's how you focus your efforts on enhancing your leadership skills and becoming a more effective leader. It's not rocket science. It's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. So we're going to move on from there because I could talk about this all day. I get excited about that kind of stuff. Let's move on to our second question. What strategies can I implement to improve employee engagement and productivity in my organization? Very interesting. Go back to the first question, because the first question answers so much of that, right? The very first question really kind of shows you how to improve your employee engagement, how to improve productivity. But to give you some other, I guess I would say, tools in your toolkit or your tool belt, whichever. I want you to start with regular one-on-one conversations. Have a conversation. Do you know how many leaders don't talk to their people? How many leaders don't know anything about their people? Nothing. They have no clue what's going on with them. And that's beyond just, oh, I know that you got 2 kids, or I know that you don't have any children, or I know that you, I can't think of anything else right now, because those are normally that you're married, you're single, or whatever the case is, or you live in this particular city. I want you to really have a conversation with them. I want you to have an effective one-on-one conversation. If you want to improve employee engagement and productivity on your team, I want you to start with having a conversation. Get to know your people. Get to know them. I promise you, they don't bite. Their bark may be worse than their bite, but more than likely they don't like. So have a one-on-one conversation with them. Foster a culture of openness and communication. Allow them to have a voice. Allow them to have a safe place to vent. Allow them to speak freely without it coming back up. You know, when you think about your personal relationships, let's say that you're married. I'm not, we're going to say that you are. So let's say that you're married and you're in a relationship. Would you want to, my mom has this term, beating a dead horse. Would you want somebody who's beating a dead horse every time you turn around? They're constantly talking about the same thing. So if I share something with you, do you bring it back up and bring it back up and bring it back up and bring it back up? And the person thinks we've really moved past this, but you are still holding me to this. I'll never forget, I was in a succession planning meeting. We were talking about successors for key roles. And one leader brought something up that literally happened like 7 years ago. I mean, it was a long time ago. And somebody called them out on it. And they were furious with this lady for calling this leader out on it. That took courage. That took courage. Because if every time we get in here, you want to mention a mistake that somebody made years ago, I don't really know how your employee engagement is going to go when people are fearful. When they are moving and operating with fear, it is very challenging, extremely challenging for them to be connected and give you their best. We all know that engaged employees, they are more committed. They're innovative, right? They're looking for ways to make things better. They're looking for ways to improve. They're looking for ways to streamline and optimize. And so they are really the driving force behind any transformational effort that you have, whether you call it transformation or not. It really is all about you investing in your team and investing in those relationships. So how well do you know your team? Do you know, for example, let's say that I was on your team. Do you know that if I was on your team, I'm a naturally quiet person. So I may not comment so quickly or so freely. I'm a processor. I like to think about what it is that you're asking me. I'm extremely strategic and analytical. I'm a deep thinker, creative thinker, strategic thinker. And so I am, connecting all the dots very fast, right? But processing and reading the room at the same time. So I want you to start with your regular one-on-one conversations and really get to know your team. How do they move? How do they navigate? What do they like? How do they like to be managed? What are they all about? What brings them joy? Those are just some questions that you can begin to think about or noodle upon, as people say, as you're looking to improve employee engagement. It's really, having those relationships and productivity. The other things I want you to give regular and consistent feedback. I was in a meeting not too long ago, actually, and we were talking about feedback, giving employees feedback. And how regularly do you give them feedback? Do you wait until performance review time, performance management time, and that's when they initially hear about how great they're doing or what they're not doing or what you wish they would do differently? When you give them feedback, are you specific in the feedback that you're giving them? And so I want you to think about that, regularly giving them feedback. And then one of the passions that I have is about recognition, just letting people know that they are valued, they are seen, they're heard, they're appreciated. I think that's one of the strongest and best ways to increase employee engagement, besides a healthy culture and besides a listening culture and strong leadership. So outside of that, I really believe it's about that feedback and that recognition and opportunity. And so if you want to do that, I'm going to ask you to think about the feedback that you actually give your team. And I also want you to think about, how do you recognize them? See, recognition doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be something major. But I will say it needs to be genuine. It needs to reflect what the person actually likes and desires and wants. It needs to be something that's valued. And so if I don't value this, it's kind of like if you give me a penny. I'm going to keep the penny. But do I truly value the penny? Maybe if I was a penny short somewhere and I needed a penny to purchase something and they were not letting me leave the store without that penny, then yeah, the penny becomes really important, right? If I'm teaching kids about money and I'm saying every penny matters, the penny is important, especially to that kid. But as we become adults, does the penny really matter? Now, we're talking about a penny, and I say a penny because I want you to really think about how they like to be appreciated. And if it's something that they don't value, you could be doing more damage than good. You really can. So maybe you take that penny, and if it's someone who likes to think, to have deep, insightful, thoughtful conversations, maybe you take the penny, throw the penny, a penny for your thoughts. They feel appreciated. Then you ask them their opinion, Maybe you take that same penny in a meeting and they like to have fun. Whoever has the penny gets to speak. Maybe that's something that's important to them. But for somebody else, it's like, put it on my paycheck. Somebody else may say, I just need a certificate or all of these trophies because I want to display all of these trophies behind here on my trophy wall so everybody can come in and see how great I am, because I want that recognition and I want to be validated by people. And so I need those awards to be able to show what I like. I have a friend who is working for a company. We used to work together years ago. And it's really interesting because every time she gets some type of feedback at her company, she always sends me the message every single time. I got this, I got this, I got this. It's my 30-year anniversary today. She loves being validated and appreciated in that manner. So that means something to her. That validation, that human validation. And then I have another friend who says, I'm confident in who I am. I don't need human validation. I really don't even need money. What I need is for my voice to be heard and to be respected. Recognition for her. It's not about somebody else seeing it. It could be something as simple as, hey, I see you. I see you. And because of the work that you've done, I'm going to let you go home early today. Or because of the work that you've done, then I'm going to do X, Y, Z. That matters to her. Taking her in meetings where she is able to go to those meetings and support her leader. It's important for her. And then I have other friends who say, you know what? None of that really matters to me at all. My reward and my recognition comes internally. I know that I've done a good job. So how do you recognize that particular person? It's going to be a little bit more challenging for them to see what actually matters, but your job as a leader is to figure it out. It's to figure it out. I got one more question, and it's, how can I create a positive organizational culture that promotes high performance and innovation? Go back to what we just talked about, questions 1 and 2. They actually tie together. I love this. One of the things I'm going to say, how do you create a positive organizational culture that promotes high performance and innovation? High performance and innovation. Let me see. What would I say to that? It's that culture, man, is everything. If you want a culture of high performance, you want to create a positive organizational culture that promotes high performance and innovation. Who are you promoting? Who are you bringing into the organization? Are you holding people accountable? Do you have the right systems in place? Because that's going to make all the difference. Do you give people the opportunities to work together? Or is your organization so resistant to change, so fearful of making a mistake? That hinders innovation. It hinders creativity when everything has to be perfect, when you cannot fail forward. Oh, it's a challenge. High performance starts with leadership. If you're not holding your leaders accountable, it's going to be kind of hard. If you're not building a relationship of trust, how do you build a relationship of trust? We've got to be able to talk to each other. We've got to be able to work through some challenges. We've got to be able to manage our emotions while not hiding our emotions so that we can talk about what needs to be talked about. We can actually deal with it. That's going to be part of it, right? High performance. I love a high performance work culture that's healthy. But part of that is hiring people who are talented and gifted in their roles giving them the opportunity to grow, to make mistakes, to work with other people. It's giving them a voice. It's allowing them to be experts and you moving and getting out of their way. So again, you got to trust that they know what they're doing. And you can ask questions, but as a leader, you have to really kind of pull back that it has to be my way and we're going to do it this way. You cannot have a positive organizational culture where you're treating people as if their voice doesn't matter, where you are showing that you don't trust them, that you're untrustworthy, where you slap down everything, every idea that's presented. It has to be your way or the highway. You can't have an organization of innovation when you're always going back to, well, we tried this before. We tried that last year. We tried this. We tried. Oh my gosh, the broken record of what you've tried or what was tried in the past. And so you can't try it again with different people, different timing, more knowledge, more awareness. Those are kind of par for the course. Really understanding that people can challenge the leader and say, you know what? No, I don't really think that's the right way. You know what? Great point, but can I put something else out there? Can I put something else on the table? Are you open to another idea? See, innovation and culture in high performance, that's your competitive advantage. You know, I say that all the time. Your competitive advantage really is leadership. And we say talent, leadership, you know, they are talent, right? But even beyond that, if you can have talented people, gifted people, but if your leaders hold them back, how is that going to work to get you a high performance, innovative culture? You're going to get tired and they will leave your organization or they will retire on the job or deliver just enough for you to pay them to come back tomorrow. That's it. So make it fun, make it competitive, hire the best of the best. Allow people to have a voice, allow them to challenge each other, allow them to work through challenges, allow them to do something different, allow them to work together on projects. Diversity, man, that alone, if you want to have an organizational culture that promotes high performance and innovation, diversity, even in thought, because sometimes we get so caught up in diversity of skin color or ethnicity, race, background, education, no education. And we get into these wars that are unnecessary. I'm from the South. I'm from the North. You know, in the North, we do this. And in the South, we do this. And I came from Fortune 500. You came from a private equity. You know, you get into all of these things. But when you have diversity of thought, when you don't have groupthink and everybody is thinking the same way, when you truly can be a free voice and use your voice, and you don't have to think like me, you can show me a better way or another way, an alternative. You can stretch and challenge or stimulate my thinking. Wow. You're on to something special. You're on to something magical. And you just need to have the systems in place and the leadership in place to be able to support that ongoing. These are some really great questions. I love Q&As. I love open office hours. And so if you would like to have your question answered, all you need to do, again, we've talked about it before. Let's say it one more time. Send me an email, spayne@smpistrategies.com. You can send me a DM. You can leave your question in the comments. And then also you can use the link to promote your questions and to promote the broadcast, but use the link also not only to promote the broadcast, but use the link to get your questions answered. You do not have to be here, and that's okay. I cannot tell you how many times somebody calls me and says, hey, we got this question, and I'm able to go back through the Q&As and say, hey, this is where I'm answering your question. Go here, and if you need anything else, then holler back at me. I am Dr. Sherilyn Payne, passionate about helping leaders to address their performance issues and concerns so that together we can maximize potential, performance, and profitability. If you want additional assistance in doing just that, then send me a message. Hello, Jamal. Happy to see you. We're signing off. Again, get your questions answered. Happy to answer each and every question that you have, and submit your questions. Don't have to be here. And we're going to make sure that you are set up for success. I'll see you guys back here next week with another Q&A open office hour session.